We're back, everybody, with Chris Sanders talking about the Supreme Court decision yesterday having to do with a baker in Colorado who refused service to a same-sex couple based on his religious beliefs. Got a number of, I'm looking at Facebook right now, our Facebook Live was up for the first segment, and looking at a lot of comments from you. It's all over the place. We'll read some of the comments here in just a minute. Thank you for watching on Facebook Live earlier. Hopefully a lot of you are watching on News Channel 5 Plus now. Let's go to Brenda on line 2. Hi, Brenda. Or actually, we were there. Hold on just a moment. We just talked to Brenda. Let's go to Martha on line 5. It's been a while since I've done this. Go ahead, Martha.
Good evening. I think we might be oversimplifying this.
Okay.
Or no, I'm sorry, just the opposite. I mean, the way I'm looking at this is that, and we don't know, none of us were there when this transaction or attempted transaction occurred. But let's just say hypothetically that a man goes into a bakery and says, I want a wedding cake, and they say, fine, whatever. What would you like the inscription to be? And then he says, a happy, wishing Steve and Barry a happy wedding or something.
Right.
And take the other situation where same scenario, except when the question is asked, how do you want the inscriptions to read? It says, wishing Michael and Dawn a happy wedding day.
Mm-hmm.
In both cases, the baker doesn't know Michael and Dawn. He doesn't know the other couple. So it's not the baker making the wish to begin with. So that's where I don't see this.
It's a good point. Yes, I mean, the message is always a reflection of the couple. It's not an endorsement of the baker.
Right. And in this case, he was saying he considers his work kind of like artwork.
Mm-hmm.
So his argument was, yes, I'm creating something, a piece of my personal artwork for you. So yeah, that's a tough one, though. I mean, that's a really good point. The message is not the baker's message.
Right. But a court hasn't ruled that way.
Yeah.
So we don't know whether some lower court around the country will have that finding. But I think you're thinking along the right lines. I mean, asking that kind of question is what the court is going to have to do, and it's what good lawyers on both sides will have to do so that the country can get some resolution on the issue. It may take many years. I mean, consider this. The case started in 2012 and is decided in the middle of 2018.
Right.
This is a long process.
It was. Real quick, and hang on there, Martha, with us. We've got a couple of folks are arguing here on our Facebook page, talking about one person just basically says, if it's a private business, you should have the right to deny service to anyone. Well, the problem is then you're discriminating, and there are laws in place.
Right. You
can be crossing a line.
We had a sit-in movement in Nashville over the question of public accommodations.
Right.
Woolworth's downtown is an iconic spot in the civil rights movement, and that was a lunch counter sit-in, and trying to desegregate buses and on and on and on. Public spaces, but also businesses. So,
yes, and again, this goes back to this debate with Justice Kennedy about the different rights here, and also the rights of a business. If you open up it is your business. You own the business. It's your private business. You can run it the way you want. But if you are serving the public,
right,
that is when we get into that. Like you said, Woolworth. That's where the sit-in started, because they denied service to a certain segment of people based on their race.
Right.
Or there's been gender, and now we're into sexual orientation. So this is the fine line here.
Right.
Martha, anything else you wanted to add?
Just real quick, a traditional religion, this is the other side of the coin, traditional religion, meaning Judaism and Christianity, Western religion, has, in concept, I guess, been opposed to gay unions, but that opposition, when people start quoting scripture like your last caller, there's nothing that that I'm aware of in any religion scripture that uses the word gay, homosexual, bisexual, asexual, whatever. It's about man lying with a man or something like that. It's all interpretation. And that's also where it gets dicier.
That's correct. We didn't get the word homosexual in Western discourse until really the 19th century, and more so in the 20th, when it began to be heavily used. You have words in the Greek New Testament like malakoi and arsenokoitoi, which have been interpreted as something similar to gay men, but there are a variety of nuances there that aren't exactly comparable to the LGBT community we have today. So taking one passage from ancient Greek and plopping it into 21st century America, it's a dicey proposition sometimes, I think.
Martha, thank you. We appreciate your input.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we're going to get to some more calls in a moment. I got some more Facebook comments here.
Good.
One person said, growing up, every store had a sign in the window, "We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone at any time." Based on what, though?
Right, that's the thing. If they can't pay, if you don't have a shirt on,
shirt or
maybe,
shoe, right. That's what we're talking about.
But shirtless people are not a protected class in law.
Exactly. This is what we're talking about. All right, let's go to Phyllis on line 1. Phyllis, welcome to Open Line.
Oh, hi. Thank you, people. Yeah, first of all, I always thought that most of these people, are wonderful people, and a lot of it is genetic, where they're either, male or female. And the religion in Colorado, I'm not very hip on that, but the gay couple that went there, at least they were treated with some respect, and vice versa. But what's going to happen? Like, if this person says, well, if I make this cake, and somebody's sitting there that doesn't like it, or standing in the room while he's making the cake, what are they going to do? Call the cops? Imagine a cop, in this world nowadays, I wouldn't doubt a cop shows up and says, you can't have that cake. All right, I'm sorry,
Well, I see what you mean. Typically, these kinds of things are civil matters and not criminal matters.
Okay.
So, while one could call the cops for any reason, that doesn't mean they would respond in a civil matter, and I hope they wouldn't. Typically, you get attorneys involved and file suit in these kinds of situations. But I see exactly what you mean. But it would be a civil matter and not a criminal matter.
All right, thank you, Phyllis. We appreciate it. Robert's on line 2. Hey, Robert, welcome to Open Line.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir. What's on your mind?
Hello? Yeah, religion has been a big problem with all the wars and everything. It's always started more wars than anything else, and it's always my religion's better than yours. But why should you even listen to them? I mean, I believe everybody should have their fair chance, and so on. But religion, I don't have time for them.
Well, and in our view, of course, and I think a lot of people's view, it shouldn't be the basis of public policy in our country. What Justice Kennedy is saying, though, is when a religious person comes before a government tribunal, you must be treated with respect. And the government must act in a way that's neutral toward religion. And that's an important principle, too. So I see exactly what you're saying, sir. What I think government bodies are going to be reading this case and thinking to themselves is, okay, we may have to do some training with our commission members to make sure that we are religiously neutral. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's another Linda here on Facebook. If you can refuse service to someone who is not wearing shoes and a shirt, why should they not be able to refuse service that's against their belief? Just what Chris said earlier. Being shirtless and shoeless is not meaning now you're in a protected class. This is what we're talking about. There are specific classes of people who are protected.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about here. Just like you brought up the Woolworth example, right. Gender, other people, someone said here, well, I won't sell women food, being sarcastic. But well, that's exactly right. A lot of people are going through here saying... You are opening
yourself to a lawsuit if you won't sell women food.
Yeah, a lot of people are trying to side with the business owner, saying if you own the business, it's your choice, you shouldn't have to provide a reason. Well, you have to follow the law. Is what we're saying here.
And part of the reason for that is, even though you are a private business, you benefit from the roads. You benefit from public police protection, public fire protection. You are licensed by the state. You could say it's against your religion if you own a restaurant to be inspected for health violations. Well, sorry, but it's in the public health interest that you're inspected every so often and that you pass. You know, you can go above and beyond. You could have a kosher kitchen, which is going to be even cleaner. But you cannot do less than the law.
Right. I mean, you can put, like you say, you could put a rainbow on your window and say, same-sex couples welcome here. We treat everyone, and like you said, go above and beyond to reach out and include, but you can't go below the law.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Robert. We appreciate that phone call. Lucy is next on line 4. Hey, Lucy, welcome.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Hi.
Well, 3 points, but I want to say something about no shoes, no shirt, no service.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember what that was about. That was about the hippies, because they were running around, coming to the South with no shoes, no shirt, long hair.
Yep.
They were calling them faggots, and you know, you just name it. They were calling them that because they weren't used to it here.
Right.
And that was worked out because they put up the sign to turn away the hippies. And I argued with my hippie friends, with like a restaurant owner, if there's broken glass in there, you'll sue him if you step on broken glass.
That's exactly right.
So do us a favor and throw on some flip-flops and a T-shirt.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
All right, but my thing is this. Yes, there have been pharmacists here in the state of Tennessee since 2001 on several occasions that have turned married women down that try to get their birth control pills filled. That is wrong. That's commerce. You shouldn't put your religious beliefs in somebody else's right. That's commerce. You're obstructing it.
I agree, and ma'am, I think in Tennessee there's a specific conscience law for pharmacists.
Okay.
So that needs to be changed at the state level, and I would absolutely agree with you.
Okay, and the other thing is, I forgot the second point, but the third point, my third point is, we were having this discussion when this verdict came through. I fall somewhere in between right now, and have been since this whole thing came up, between Kennedy and Bader Ginsburg. This is where I fall right now, in between them. But my point is, we need to look at what marriage is. You can bring up the Bible all you want to bring up. If my grandmother's bond was not returned to the courthouse, marriage that these people are talking about, that gay people have fought about, is man's law. If their bond had not been returned to the courthouse, they would be having children considered bastards because it would not be registered.
Right.
The whole religious thing.
We have a whole history of how the state has become involved in marriage. It hasn't always been the same. Women used to be viewed as property given away.
Right, protect people, protect these children. The state of Tennessee can't even protect children against pedophiles marrying them here in Tennessee. So we really need to look at what the definition of marriage is. Man's law. You're living in a country that's supposed to cover everybody. So me personally, and 3 of my friends, we don't believe in the institution of marriage at all.
Wow.
We believe that we should be able to get a contract to go into deals with people if we're living with them or otherwise. We don't believe in that. And some gay people have ran up against that stuff, and I understand. I've seen gay people who have been together for 40 years that couldn't visit in the nursing home, and the burden was put on on the public, and that's where the bonds of marriage came up, was to protect you, Mr. Sanders, you,
Rory.
Yeah, thank you.
It's all right.
You guys and me from the burden of putting up with somebody else's problems they created. And on that, I'll hang up.
Well, thank you.
Lucy, great call. We appreciate it very much. All right, we're going to take another break. More of your calls are coming in, 737 plus, right after this.